we're back and with another League of Legends guide, this time with Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a high skill cap, high mobility early game jungler with a lot of playmaking ability and thrives off of making flashy plays and catching people out of position. However, let's get straight into his abilities. His Q has two parts to it. The first part is a skill shot. You hit that, then you can dash towards the enemy dealing percentage missing HP damage as an execute. His W is a shield, and when he activates it a second time it gives him lifesteal. This can also be used on allies to give himself and the ally the shield, or on ally wards to use as a gap closer. And his E is an area of effect magic damage spell that slows people on the second cast. You'll notice that Lee Sin has two casts on his Q, W and E. His passive gives him 40% attack speed whenever he uses a spell. This can be the first part or the second part of any spell. And it gives him 20 energy on the first auto attack and 10 energy on the second auto attack. Do know that if you don't use the passive in fights, you'll find yourself going out of energy very quickly. Lee Sin's ultimate is Dragon's Rage. He kicks the enemy, knocking them back, and can also knock them into other enemies, and this will knock the other enemies up, dealing damage to them as well, but also bonus damage, depending on the maximum HP of the enemy you initially kick. This is probably the ability that makes Lee Sin as versatile as he is. The amount of combos that you can pull off, like a Q, kick, Q, or Q to the enemy and then ward jump behind and then kick the enemy into your team, that's called an insect. There are loads of combos you can do, and we'll have a look at a lot of them later on in the video. For now, I just want to show you a simple combo, Lee Sin's normal damage combo without using his ultimate on an enemy. So you want to land the first bit of your Q. Once that's hit, then press Q again and go in. As you've nearly hit the second bit of your Q on the enemy, you want to try and auto attack them, as you can auto attack or start winding up the auto attack as you're about to hit the Scion. Then right after that you'll get some energy back and you want to E, auto attack, and then E again for the slow. However, in this clip he's died beforehand. Okay, now let's get into some of the combos that you can do with Lee Sin and his ultimate. The first one is ward jumping in front of the enemy, hitting your Q, and then R, Q. You do this because your ultimate does a lot of damage and your Q is an execute, so it does more damage the lower the enemy is. It also means that they can't fight back whilst they're knocked in the air. Okay, a quick disclaimer for this next section. There are loads of Lee Sin combos and I have not that much time, so I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as possible. The first one is an insect. You Q to the enemy, ward jump behind by placing a ward and Wing to it, and then ult the enemy into your team. The next one is Q to the enemy again, but this time flash behind the enemy and then press kick or R and kick them towards the team. This one's a bit quicker than the insect, but also means you have to use a really big cooldown in flash. The one after this is the same. You Q to the enemy, but this time you press R and then flash. This starts the cast of your ult, and then you flash behind them to direct it. This is the quickest one out of the three of them, but it's also the hardest one to execute, so I'd recommend going into a practice tool and trying it out before you go into a game to use it. And then the last combo, the one that you just saw, is placing a ward down because it is quicker than a Q, and sometimes enemies won't expect it, and then channeling your kick before flashing behind them in the direction that you want them to fly. Remember that you have to be in kick range, otherwise you won't start the kick channel and you'll just flash on the spot and look like an idiot. And the last combo is more of a damage burst combo. You throw your Q at the enemy and flash right afterwards towards the enemy, start the kick. Before you can kick, the Q that you threw will hit the enemy, and then as you kick they'll fly away and then you Q to them again. This does tons of damage, especially to squishies, and is really good at killing them when they're about 2/3 HP. The last trick I'll talk about in this video regarding Lee Sin's kick is kicking an enemy up a wall will kind of act as a stun. Because it's a knock back but it's up a wall, they kind of don't move but they're constantly knocked up. It's a weird interaction, but this lets you set up like a Q and an E and you can burst down enemies really easily. This is good at ganking side lanes, especially as there's that edge of the map that you can kick them into. Okay, now for Lee Sin's runes. Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Zombie Ward, and Relentless Hunter from the Domination tree, and then Inspiration in the second tree with Perfect Timing and Magical Footwear is the best rune page for him right now. You take Electrocute and Sudden Impact because of the early game damage that it can give you, and it helps you snowball the game as Lee Sin, especially with all the dashes that you can have as Lee Sin. Sudden Impact is really good. Zombie Ward is just really strong at the moment, especially with you going Tracker's Knife and having all the wards out. Even if you just ward jump them, like you'll have 4 wards, 2 from your trinket, 2 from your Tracker's Knife, and you can just place some wards down in the enemy jungle and still have them to be able to ward jump around. And then Relentless Hunter, because if you're getting some kills, some assists in the early game, you'll get 8 movement speed to begin with out of combat, and then 8 for every kill or assist you get. So you'll be able to move around the map and snowball even harder because of you being able to get around the map really quickly. And then from Inspiration, you've got Perfect Timing, because Stopwatch is super strong at the moment. It gives you so much outplay potential, and it builds into your Guardian Angel. It's giving you 600 gold, I think, for free off your Guardian Angel. And then Magical Footwear is really good as well, because kind of a mix between Perfect Timing and Relentless Hunter. You're getting more movement speed out of your boots, and as the jungler you want to be able to get around the map really quickly, and it's making your boots cheaper like Perfect Timing does to GA. So it's really like gold efficient, and it's what you want as the jungler anyway, so that's probably the best rune page. However, there is another rune page. It's the same from the Domination tree. You go Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Zombie Ward, Relentless Hunter. But then from Sorcery you go Ultimate Hat for the really low cooldown on your ultimate. And because you're getting Black Cleaver quite late now, due to you rushing GA, because it's so cheap from Stopwatch, Transcendence is really good because it gives you 10% CDR, even more cooldown off your ult, even more plays. So it is another rune page to look at, but until Perfect Timing gets nerfed, I do not see this rune page being better than the first one. Now that you'll be going into game with the right runes, you probably need to know a build. Warrior with the Tracker's Knife and Ninja Tabi are going to be your first few items. Tracker's Knife because it gives you wards for ward jump, and it goes quite well with Zombie Ward. Guardian Angel will be your next item as long as you're not doing really badly, because Stopwatch gives you 600 gold off of it, so it's really cheap. Gives you AD and armor, so when you've got Tabi and GA you're going to have around 100 armor. Then Black Cleaver, this is such a good item on Lee Sin. It gives you health, AD, cooldown reduction, it's pretty much everything you want. And then, if they've got not too much magic damage, you want to go Dead Man's Plate and then a Spirit's Visage. But if they do have a lot of AP, then instead of the Dead Man's Plate, you should probably go Hex Drinker and probably upgrade that to a 4 more, or build Spirit's Visage before building it into the 4 more, just so you have a lot of magic resist. Lee Sin's clear in Season 8 is pretty standard. Then start with the bot side, in this case on blue, then go Grump, Wolves, this will give you level 3. So when you come to red buff, you'll be level 3. It's really easy to clear it, and then you take the Blasting Cone over to the river and do Crab or Gank top lane. If you were on red side, start with bot, go red, Wolves, Grump, hit level 3, and then do blue and try and get Shuckle and gank top, or mid if either one's pushed up. However, in this clip, I noticed that they've got a Kog'Maw jungle. Now, everyone knows that Kog'Maw jungle's really weak in the early game, so I start red and run straight to his blue buff. He shouldn't be expecting this, but I'm wary that he might place a ward into blue before checking it. So I try to hold off on using my abilities, but in the end I feel like I'm going to lose too much health if I don't use them. I don't want to place a ward over the wall either in case he's walking towards it and it will alarm him. Now as you see, he pops a potion and he walks into the bush. I start the fight with him, not having my cooldowns yet, and he flashes over the bush. But even when flashes over the bush, I could have flashed after him and definitely kill him, because my Q was going to be up in a second anyway, if I didn't get on him straight away with my flash. These next few clips really showcase how creative you can be with Lee Sin. Because of the amount of mobility and early game damage that he has, and with the stopwatch mare, there are a lot of outplays that you can do that most players won't expect. So for this part, I'll just let the clips play, as it's not really cookie cutter stuff. This is just to give you an idea of what kind of stuff you pull off with Lee Sin in the early game that on normal junglers or other junglers you wouldn't be able to. One trick I didn't show in the practice tool earlier was the RQQ. I showed if you hit your Q and then kick them and then dash to them, but in this trick you kick them, and because they travel in a straight line it's relatively easy to line up a Q to where they're going to go and jump to them instead. This is if you don't have a lot of time to line up the perfect kick. You want to kick them first and then Q. In some cases, you won't even have to Q to an enemy in order to ward jump behind them and kick them under tower or to your teammates. In this clip, Shyvana tries to go really aggressive on me in the top lane, and I ward jump behind her and kick her under tower. She tries to ult out and I hit my Q on her. I then go back into my jungle and find a Kindred in my tri-bush. I flash away and W to a minion, and I know that I've got stopwatch, and I try to bait her in as much as I can before using it. As she's about to proc it, I stopwatch, and then it wears off on me. She greeds out and takes too many tower shots, so I hit my Q, and because it's the execute, it pretty much finishes her off. This is another example of an outplay that you can do combining Lee Sin's mobility and the stopwatch meta. Lee Sin is one of the best champions at securing neutral objectives like buffs as well as Dragon and Baron, due to his Q damage being an execute and being able to do up to 400 damage to monsters. The enemy team is doing a Mountain Dragon and Vi is on the backside of Dragon trying to make sure that they secure it. I hit my Q and jump in and kick her out. This gives us just enough time to finish off the dragon and get it low enough to be in my Q and smite range, and I know that there's no chance of her outsmiting me because I have more damage in my Q smite combo than just her smite. Here the enemy team are doing Baron. I'm running out of base and I ward jump towards the bush to try and close the gap a little bit. As I get closer to the Baron, I flash towards the back wall of the Baron pit to make sure that I'm in a max range to hit my Q. Then I jump in knowing that my smite has 750 damage on it, and with my Q I know that I can execute Baron from around just over 900 health. Amumu is also a level lower than me, so I know I will win a smite fight. But if we watch this in slow motion, you'll see that I smite as I know my Q is going to connect with Baron, so that there's no in between slot for where the Q damage goes through and the smite damage goes through. It goes in at the same time, so there's no chance for Amumu to smite in between and steal it from her. Lee Sin has three kind of jobs in a team fight. One of them is to kick a threat away from a carry, and then the other two are to look for a big kick, so a kick that hits multiple people and deals lots of damage, or to catch someone out with your kick. In this clip I'll show you the second one, where I kick a tank into the Misfortune and make her cancel her ultimate, and the last segment of this video will be showing you a flash kick on an ADC in a team fight. Now this kick doesn't go perfectly, and I'm going to explain why throughout the video. Instead of showing you a perfect kick, I'll show you why at the beginning of the video I was talking so much about making sure that the angles are right, because I finally get on the Twitch, I ward jump towards him and then start my channel of kick and flash to the side almost behind him, and he ends up going inside the side bush. It's really unlucky, but this is why you need to have your angles when you go for a flash kick on, otherwise he'll end up getting away. However, watching it again in slow motion, you can still get the concept of the flash kick. Do know that I ended up killing the fuck up, so don't worry about that. And if you're still here after that mountain of a video, big thank you. It's sorry that it's such a long video. He's just such a detailed champion. There's a lot to talk about. I couldn't make it any shorter without risking not having all the information that I wanted. Thank you again for watching. You could comment telling me what to do, and I'll see you guys next time.